The arena floor was stained with 3 different colors of blood. Marcus Kane stood in the center, chest heaving, his massive frame casting a long shadow across the crimson sand. The crowd of 100,000 alien spectators roared from the towering seats above, their voices creating a wall of sound that shook the very air. This was the Crucible, the greatest combat arena in the Valdrine Empire, and Marcus had just won his 47th consecutive victory. The human gladiator wiped sweat from his brow with the back of his hand. His body was covered in old scars, each one a testament to battles fought and survived. The Valdrine had purchased him from a slave market on the Outer Rim 3 years ago, and since then he had become their greatest attraction. Humans were rare in this part of the galaxy, and Marcus was particularly impressive even by human standards. His muscles were like carved stone, his reflexes impossibly quick, and his endurance seemed endless to the alien species who owned him. Emperor Zalthar rose from his golden throne in the royal box. The massive insectoid ruler stood nearly 12 feet tall, his chitinous armor gleaming under the arena lights. 4 of his 6 arms spread wide in a gesture that silenced the crowd instantly. The sudden quiet was eerie, oppressive. Marcus looked up, his jaw tight. He knew that look. The Emperor wanted something special today. Champion Marcus. The Emperor's voice boomed through the arena's sound system, translated into dozens of languages simultaneously. You have pleased us greatly. Your strength honors our games. Your victories bring glory to our empire. Marcus said nothing. He had learned long ago that the Emperor did not actually want responses during these speeches. He simply waited, his heart rate slowing, his breathing becoming controlled. Whatever came next, he would face it. For your next challenge, the Emperor continued, his mandibles clicking with what Marcus had learned to recognize as excitement, we have prepared something unprecedented. Something that will cement your legend forever. A gate on the far side of the arena began to grind open. Marcus turned to face it, his muscles tensing automatically. He had fought creatures from a dozen worlds. Massive beasts with teeth-like swords, cybernetically enhanced soldiers, swarms of venomous insects. He had survived them all through a combination of strength, speed, and the peculiar stubbornness that seemed to be a human trait. But what emerged from the gate was not a monster. It was a child. The crowd gasped as one. The small figure stumbled into the bright sunlight of the arena, shielding its eyes. It was a Drexian child, Marcus realized, perhaps 8 or 9 years old by their species standards. The small alien had pale blue skin and large, terrified eyes. It wore only a torn cloth around its waist. In one small hand, it clutched a blade far too large for its grip. Marcus felt his blood turn to ice. He looked up at the Emperor, his eyes wide with disbelief. No, he said, loud enough for the amplification systems to catch. The word echoed through the arena. Emperor Zalthar's mandibles spread in what Marcus had learned was a smile. Oh yes, champion. This child is the last survivor of a rebellion on the colony world of Drexia Prime. Its parents dared to resist imperial rule. They've been executed, but we thought to give this young one a chance. A warrior's chance. If it can defeat you, it will earn its freedom. If not, the Emperor shrugged 2 of his 6 shoulders. Then, justice will be served. The crowd began to cheer again, but there was a different quality to it now. An ugly, hungry sound. They wanted to see this. They wanted to see the legendary human champion fight a terrified child. Marcus dropped his weapon. The heavy blade clanged against the arena floor, the sound cutting through the noise like a bell. I won't do it, he said. The crowd's cheering faltered, confusion rippling through the stands. The Emperor leaned forward in his throne. What did you say, slave? I said I won't do it. Marcus's voice was steady, firm. He had fought and killed many times in this arena, but they had all been warriors, soldiers, or beasts. He had never murdered the innocent, and he would not start now, not even if it cost him everything. This isn't combat. This is execution. And I'm not your executioner. The child stood frozen in the center of the arena, the oversized blade trembling in its small hands. Its eyes darted between Marcus and the Emperor, clearly not understanding what was happening, but sensing the tension. Emperor Zalthares' expression changed. The alien's 4 upper arms crossed over his thorax while his lower arms gripped the armrests of his throne. You forget yourself, human. You are property. You are a slave. You exist to serve our entertainment and our will. If you refuse, you will be executed. Slowly. Painfully. We will make an example of you. Marcus straightened his spine, standing to his full height. Even at a distance, his defiance was clear. Then you'll have to execute me. Because I'm not killing that child. A murmur ran through the crowd. This had never happened before. Champions did not refuse. Slaves did not defy the Emperor. The entire social order of the Valdrine Empire was built on absolute obedience to authority. And here was this human, this property, this thing that should not even have been considered a person, standing in open rebellion. The Emperor's voice dropped to a dangerous growl. You think your victories have made you special? You think we cannot simply dispose of you and find another? I think, Marcus said clearly, that you'll find it harder to find someone who can win 47 fights in a row. But that doesn't matter. What matters is that child doesn't die today. Not by my hand. Then by whose hand? The Emperor gestured, and a side gate opened. 6 armed guards marched into the arena, their plasma rifles trained on Marcus. You have forced our hand, human. Guards, execute the prisoner. But before the guards could fire, something unexpected happened. The child moved. It ran across the arena, not toward the exit, not away from Marcus, but toward him. The small Drexian reached Marcus and grabbed onto his leg, hiding behind the massive human like he was a shield. Marcus looked down at the child, then back up at the Emperor. He placed one hand protectively on the child's head. You want to kill us? Fine, but you'll have to kill us both. And your crowd will see what you really are. The crowd had gone almost silent now. Thousands of alien eyes watched the scene unfold. Some were confused, some angry, some something else. Something that might have been respect, or perhaps recognition of something they had not seen in their empire for a very long time. Actual courage. Actual defiance. Emperor Zalthar stood fully now, all 6 arms spread wide in fury. You dare lecture me? You dare to defy imperial authority in front of the entire capital? Your death will be legendary, human. They will speak of your suffering for generations. Maybe, Marcus said quietly. But they'll also speak of why I died. They'll know I died protecting someone who couldn't protect themselves. They'll know I chose death over murder. And maybe, just maybe, some of them will wonder why their emperor wanted a child killed so badly. The silence stretched. The guards' weapons remained trained on Marcus, but they hadn't fired. They were waiting for the emperor's command. The emperor was clearly wrestling with something. To kill Marcus now would make him a martyr. To let him live would show weakness. Either choice had consequences. A new voice cut through the tension. Perhaps, my emperor, we might consider an alternative. All eyes turned to the speaker. It was Counselor Rethmar, one of the emperor's advisors, an elderly Valdrine with graying chitin and wise eyes. He stood in the royal box beside the throne. The human has provided us with something far more valuable than a simple execution. He has shown us the nature of his species, their stubbornness, their moral rigidity. This information could be useful. The emperor's mandibles clicked in thought. Speak clearly, Counselor. Humanity is not yet part of the empire, Rethmar continued. But they will be eventually. All species are conquered in time. When that day comes, we should know what we face. This human has shown us that his kind will choose death over dishonor, that they will protect the weak even at cost to themselves. This is valuable intelligence. Marcus watched the exchange, his hand still protectively on the child's head. He didn't know if this was better or worse, but at least it was delaying the execution. "You suggest we spare him?" The Emperor's voice was incredulous. "I suggest we learn from him, my Emperor, imprison him, study him, understand what drives this bizarre behavior. And if his people ever become a problem, we will know their weakness as well as their strength." The Emperor considered this for a long moment. Then his mandibles spread again in that terrible smile. "Very well. The human will live. For now, guards, take him to the deep cells. He will never see daylight again. He will rot in darkness until we decide his fate." The guards moved forward cautiously. Marcus didn't resist as they placed restraints on his wrists. But before they led him away, he looked down at the child one more time. "You're going to be okay," he said softly. "Don't ever let them make you think this is normal. Don't ever forget that some things are worth fighting for." The child looked up at him with those large, terrified eyes and nodded slowly. As the guards dragged Marcus toward the exit tunnel, he looked back at the arena one last time. The crowd was still silent, still processing what they had witnessed. He had no illusions about his fate. The deep cells meant torture, interrogation, and eventually death. But he had made his choice, and he would make it again. As the darkness of the tunnel swallowed him, Marcus Kane smiled. Because somewhere in the vastness of space, humanity existed. His people existed. And if the Valdrine Empire thought that one man's defiance was impressive, they had no idea what humanity as a whole was capable of when pushed. The child was led away by different guards, back to whatever cell awaited it. But as it was taken from the arena, it looked back at the tunnel where the human had disappeared. Something had changed in those young eyes. The terror was still there, but it was joined by something else. Hope. Understanding, the knowledge that not everyone in this cruel universe was cruel. In the royal box, Counselor Rethmer watched both prisoners being removed. He turned to the Emperor and spoke quietly, words not meant for the crowd. "You should have let me finish my thought, my Emperor." "What thought?" "That human didn't just show us humanity's weakness. He showed us their greatest strength. And when a species is willing to die for principles rather than live for comfort, they are the most dangerous enemy imaginable." The old counselor's eyes were distant, troubled. "We should hope we never have to face humanity as a whole. Because if they are all like him, no prison will hold them, no threat will cow them, and no empire, no matter how vast, will be able to break their spirit." Emperor Zalthar dismissed the warning with a wave of one hand. "They are primitives, barely spacefaring. They are no threat." But Rethmer said nothing more. He simply watched the empty arena and wondered if perhaps this day would be remembered, not as the day a champion was imprisoned, but as the day the Valdrine Empire made its greatest mistake.